Good Saturday morning. I'm Farah Jadron. Thanks for being with us this morning. Let's get right to breaking news that happened overnight. Take a look at this roped off area of Pioneer Square. One man is dead, and we're finding out from police a second victim is connected to this shooting, a woman. We have details live from Seattle's Pioneer Square neighborhood coming up in just a minute. Reunions of joy and relief are happening right now for both Israeli and Palestinian families. Hostages are being released. The ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is holding a week after it went into effect. And this morning, you're going to hear from family members of a man paralyzed because of a road rage shooting. We take you inside the courtroom for the emotional sentencing. And right now, let's get live out to Tacoma right now. Can barely make it out, but this is the sunshine glowing and just blaring from this view. You can see Mount Rainier, the Tacoma Dome under that beautiful glow. And Ashley, we got to share this with folks. We were just asking for a possible crayon color because we like the Bellingham blue for the water. Tacoma Tangerine. Yep. Thank you to Mark Rains for texting in that wonderful suggestion. We just couldn't think of it, but Tacoma Tangerine is going to be, it's official. It's going to look beautiful, but maybe not feel so great outside.
No, Tacoma, believe it or not, is actually one of the milder spots, but with the wind, that's the reason why it's a little milder. It's making it feel even colder, but Bellingham blue, there you have it. Gorgeous this morning. Yes, it is cold, 25 degrees, and we are going to have that cool sunshine once again today. 19 in Olympia and Shelton. 18. You were just at 19 last hour, now 18 degrees. So that is frigid. Puyallup 21, but we'll all warm up under sunny skies today into the mid and upper 40s. Closer to the beaches, maybe near 50. But tonight, another very cold night. Temperatures will be in the 20s and 30s under mainly clear skies. And it's pretty much copy and paste for the rest of the weekend into next week in terms of our morning lows. Rain returns late next week. Those details are coming up.
Let's get back to that breaking news. One man is dead and a woman is recovering after they were both shot in Seattle's Pioneer Square. Police say calls to 911 about the shooting went out about 6.5 hours ago, 1:30 a.m. for this area along 2nd Avenue South between Jackson and South Main. Officers have been at the scene ever since. We're going to take you live there right now. Our photojournalist is there where a large portion is still roped off, including a public parking lot where our photojournalist says she has seen nearly 50 evidence markers sprinkled all around during this investigation. Seattle firefighters tried to revive a 40-year-old man they found who had been shot, but he was pronounced dead. Not long after, police learned a 23-year-old woman had arrived to Swedish hospital with serious gunshot wounds. Police connected that victim to the man found in Pioneer Square. Again, there were several evidence markers, nearly 50 of them on the ground. Right now, no suspects are in custody. We're waiting to hear from police about what led up to this shooting, killing one man and hurting another woman. 4 female Israeli soldiers who were held hostage by Hamas for 15 months were just released and reunited with their families this morning. Israel released photos of their reunions. The ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is holding a week after it went into effect. These soldiers were released as part of the deal. The families celebrated earlier this morning as they saw their loved ones return to Israel territory. This is the moment the van drove back into safety. Video shows the hostages get out of the vans, then they hug their fellow soldiers. Crowds in Tel Aviv were also seen celebrating the return. In exchange for the 4 soldiers, Israel released about 200 Palestinian prisoners from the West Bank. They were released after the 4 soldiers were released. The prisoners were seen being carried through the streets. Crowds gathered to celebrate this. According to the terms of the deal, 30 Palestinians will be released for each Israeli civilian hostages and 50 for each soldier. Closer to home, from being a fitness fanatic to being paralyzed, is what happened to a local father following a road rage shooting in 2023. The man who pleaded guilty to the shooting was sentenced Friday. Francisco Castro Guzman will spend the next 10 years in prison. King 5's Madison Wade was inside the courtroom for the sentencing, where the family of the victim spoke in front of the judge.
My father is my 9-year-old King Dukes emotional as he shares what his dad means to him. Unable to speak out loud, his mother shares his statement before the judge.
I know my dad gives me self-love, but it's because he's trying to teach me to be the new man of the house.
His father, Brian Dukes, is now in a wheelchair, unable to walk and lift anything on his own.
I was shot in the face. The bullet went through my neck.
He was struck by gunfire during a road rage shooting on I-5 between SeaTac and Kent in 2023.
I wish none of it never happened.
The shooting completely changed Brian's life. This video shows him before the shooting, active with his kids and putting a priority on fitness. Now, he's unable to move. He has a long road ahead of him. His wife shared a message directly to the man responsible.
I will never forgive you. You took more than my husband's mobility, but my children's childhood.
The defendant, Francisco Castro Guzman, learned his fate after he took a plea deal.
I am sentencing the defendant to 120 months.
It was a disappointing outcome for the Dukes. They hoped Castro Guzman would be in prison longer.
Even though it didn't go the way we felt, I feel very thankful he's still here, and just that it's kind of done.
And now the focus is on Brian's physical and mental well-being, focusing on a goal to walk again and continue to show his family his strength through this unimaginable time.
Anything that I can do to help, anything I can do to progress or get just, 1 inch at a time, 1 day at a time, just try to get back.
That was Madison Wade reporting. Now, the judge in this case stayed within the parameters of the plea agreement. Castro Guzman pleaded guilty on all 3 counts against him, and in turn, his sentence is 10 years. This morning, we have new video showing the moments leading up to a King County Metro bus driver being stabbed to death on the job. Yim was honored with a procession of about 100 buses through downtown Seattle. His name was displayed on the front of every Metro bus. Staying with transit, light rail delays, breakdowns, and outages are piling up. And it's led the head of Sound Transit asking for more than $1 million to figure out what's wrong. It comes as light rail is expanding across Western Washington. King 5's Jim Nelson takes a closer look at the issues and what's next.
A little more than a month ago, Sound Transit flat out said trains weren't meeting expectations. 6% of all service disrupted or delayed. They called it unacceptable. Now, they're hoping more money will help them get back on track. Literally. On this Husky Hoops game night, fans make their way to Montlake. The one-line extension opening more doors for new riders. But with growth, there are growing pains.
There's been some delays. Like, I remember when it first opened, we tried to go to a baseball game, and we were like an hour and a half late to the game, so that was interesting.
According to Sound Transit, of the 6,500 hours of train service, there were 376 hours of reduced or disrupted service last year. 6% of all service. In fact, that was just through November. Calling it an emergency, this week, CEO Jaron Sparman asked the board to approve up to $1.5 million to study the ongoing issues and to figure out how to address them.
We have no time to waste in making critical improvements to ensure that we get the operational dependability that our customers expect and need.
The board approved the request unanimously. That work can start right away.
I think it's a great use of public funds. I think that, keep investing in public transit. People will use it.
We love it, and I think it'll only get better. So we give it some grace, I think, with that, because we know it's going to be really good.
The goal, to keep people moving on slow and busy nights alike. That $1.5 million would be to pay for consulting fees with a group that Sound Transit already works for. Bigger projects ultimately would be open for bidding. In Linwood, Jim Nelson, King 5 News.
Hurricanes, wildfires, and even a bomb cyclone have impacted people all across the United States trying to rebuild after these natural disasters. But President Trump has announced he wants to get rid of FEMA. His most recent proposal suggests giving funding to governors, but he does not have authority to make that call. On Friday, President Trump met with families affected by Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. The storm made landfall in late September. More than 1,700 FEMA employees were deployed to North Carolina in the wake of Helene. FEMA said Monday it's provided more than $316 million in cash grants to the region. And in California, wildfires are still burning. Take a look at this map. This is the Palisades fire, burning more than 23,000 acres. It's now 79% contained. The Eaton fire, burning more than 14,000 acres, is 95% contained. But if you take a look here, this is that LA area. Go down south close to the Mexico border for the Border 2 fire. This is the newest one in San Diego. It is 10% contained this morning, burning more than 6,500 acres. President Trump and the First Lady were also in Los Angeles Friday, and they joined California Governor Gavin Newsom to tour the damage from the wildfires that devastated the city. The president visited the Pacific Palisades neighborhood and viewed the destruction on the ground and from the air. The fires that tore through LA earlier this month killed at least 28 people.
I don't think you can realize how rough it is, how devastating it is until you see it. I didn't realize, I saw a lot of bad things on television, but the extent of it, the size of it, we flew over it in a helicopter. We flew to a few of the areas, and it is devastation. It's incredible. It's really an incineration.
And this weekend, Los Angeles is bracing for the risk of flash floods and mudslides in burn areas with heavy rain in the forecast. Now, earlier this month, King 5's Bridget Chavez and photojournalist Joseph Huertas went down to the Palisades area, and they were there while those fires were burning. They spoke to residents and first responders about the devastation.
It was a firestorm. It was a tornado, and there was like 30-foot flames. It was just a powder keg moving down, and I had so many embers flying around me. I couldn't see. I couldn't breathe.
You can hear more of Dan O'Connor's story in Scenes of Destruction, 3 days in LA. Stream it free now on King 5 Plus, available on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. This morning, local firefighters are on their way home here to Washington after helping in California. Central Kitsap Fire posted these images saying they spent the week saving koi fish, extinguishing hot spots, and getting to know the city of Los Angeles crisis response team, Mini Therapy Horses. A little bit of a lighter note there. The Snohomish Fire Department says they're also on their way back home. All right, let's get a check on our local forecast. We know we've got freezing, frigid temperatures, but we're learning now, Ashley, that while those winds have died down in California, they're now worried about rain.
They are. I mean, they need the rain, and this is a good and welcome sight, just not all at once, especially because of how dry it's been. For Los Angeles, they are under an extreme drought. That's that red color there. LAX, the airport, has not received more than 1/10 of an inch of rain since April. And it was a pretty wet year for them, but through January to March, that's when they received over 15 inches of rain. And so the rest of the year was pretty dry. And they're looking at the potential of about an inch or more of rain heading into the next couple of days, just stuck in this weather pattern. This weather pattern is going to break eventually, and that's going to allow rain chances to return for our area next Thursday. I'll have those details in your full forecast coming up.
Ashley, thanks so much. Still ahead on King 5 Mornings, unexpected visitors are comforting hospice patients through some of their darkest days. Next, we have an inside look at the Whatcom County program that's helping families.
King 5's First Alert Weather Cams, sponsored by Southwest Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric.
File your taxes 100% free in the app if you didn't use us last year. Just file with TurboTax Do-It-Yourself by February 18th. All tax forms and tax situations. Make the switch to TurboTax Do-It-Yourself and file free by February.